Okay, right off the top, the war in Iran, and you can see the high-stakes game here playing out underneath my feet. In the war with Iran, the messaging from the Trump administration today, President Trump says he's in no rush to strike a deal with Iran, and he'll let that pressure campaign wait it out if needed. Here's Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
We seized their sanctioned ships, and we will seize more. Our blockade is growing and going global. We have all the time in the world, and we're not anxious for a deal.
So live now to CBS News national security contributor Aaron MacLean. Aaron, good to have you with us. So let's play this out. What does waiting it out look like?
Right. What we're looking at right now is a very high stakes game of, if you'll forgive the expression, economic chicken. You have an American blockade of Iranian ports, which in the days, weeks, certainly if it were to go on for months to come, would start to cause extremely grievous damage to an Iranian economy that is already on the ropes. But of course, as you know, we have Iran blockading the Strait of Hormuz at the same time, which is already contributing to increased gas prices here in the United States, some looming shortages of commodities elsewhere in the world, and give it enough weeks and months to come, and it's going to put very, very substantial pressure on the global economy. And the question we have to ask right now is which side blinks first? Does President Trump at some point feel as though the pressure on the global economy changes his bargaining position, or does the Iranian economy fall apart so dramatically that the Iranians actually have to do a deal?
Okay, so we know Secretary Hegseth also had some things to say about the effectiveness of that U.S. naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Let's listen together with what he had to say, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Let's go.
No one sails from the Strait of Hormuz to anywhere in the world without the permission of the United States Navy. To the regime in Tehran, the blockade is tightening by the hour. We are in control, nothing in, nothing out. Iran's battered military, the IRGC specifically, has been reduced to a gang of pirates with a flag. They cloak their aggression in slogans, but the world now sees them for what they are, criminals on the high seas.
Well, we know President Trump has said shoot and kill. Speaking of those people who Hegseth called pirates, control of the Strait has really been a card that Iran holds. So can that hold for them?
Well, it's certainly holding for now, and I very much worry, I should say, about a deal with the Iranians that leaves them in some level in some sort of control of the Strait. I think that's a very difficult situation for global commerce going forward if that's an upshot of this. You already see them announcing plans that they'll charge tolls in the Strait. They suggest that some countries, for example, Russia, would receive exemptions from those tolls. You can see what they're doing. They're trying to change an international waterway into something under their sovereign control, which would be a problem for any country to do it, let alone Iran. So that's a very dangerous possible road ahead. I think it's essential that the United States reestablish the free flow of commerce in the Strait. And it needs to do it in a timely fashion because the economic pain is already there and it's only going to get more intense in the weeks ahead.
Is the general feeling that the United States can do this on their own, or do they, as President Trump has insisted, need some of our NATO alliance to come in and help with that? Obviously, if other nations benefit from control of the Strait, you'd think some would want to be a part of this without being drawn into all-out war. What's the landscape where that's concerned?
Well, you saw Secretary Hegseth say this morning that he would welcome the help of European countries in particular in some sort of action in the Strait of Hormuz. He said that in the same breath that he described their meeting on that subject as and I quote here, silly. So he's asking for help on the one hand. On the other hand, the diplomacy is, we'll just say, pretty edgy. Any kind of operation in the Strait to keep the Strait open in the face of Iranian resistance, so this is to say not Iran allowing the Strait to be open, but us making the Strait open, would likely turn into some sort of protracted operation with ongoing requirements for escorts. And that's manpower intensive, or maybe more accurate to say ship intensive. The more naval vessels you have, the more civilian vessels you can escort through. So yes, it would be extremely helpful for that to not entirely be on the shoulders of the United States Navy. Very, very helpful indeed.
Right, manpower and police power at that if somebody wants to act up. Aaron MacLean, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Hope to see you back here on CBS News 24/7. All right, so let's go live to Washington, continue this conversation with CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Good to see you, my friend. So Iran's top diplomat heads to Pakistan today for talks. What does that signal about when negotiations between the U.S. and Iran could resume?
Well, hi, Reed. It's good to see you. It gives some hope, right? Because earlier this week, they were not willing to go to Islamabad for those negotiations. If you'll remember, on Sunday and again on Monday and again on Tuesday, there was speculation that Vice President J.D. Vance would be going to the region to have conversations with the Iranians. But of course, they said they were not willing to get on that plane as long as the ceasefire, or excuse me, as long as the blockade was in place, as they were trying to have these negotiations while the ceasefire has been ongoing. Then President Trump announced he was extending the ceasefire. And since then, there's been a flurry of diplomatic efforts by the Pakistani mediators to really get the Iranians back to the table, trying to massage them, figure out what they need to get back to this table in Islamabad and have conversations with the U.S. We also heard from the Iranian foreign minister, who said that the stop in Islamabad is just one of many that he is doing. He's also going to Muscat in Oman, and he's going to Moscow in Russia, where he'll be meeting with some regional partners to talk about what would be needed for Iran and what a future partnership would look like with them in some of the bilateral meetings that they will be having. So notable there, we have not heard from the White House on whether the special envoy Steve Witkoff, whether the president's son-in-law, or even the vice president would be willing to go back to Islamabad. But certainly this White House has been saying over and over and over again that they would like a deal. President Trump has said he would like a unified proposal from the Iranians, and this could be seen as a potential door-opening moment in these negotiations.
Okay, well, we also know the White House is extending a waiver that allows more supply ships to reach U.S. ports faster. How does that work?
Yeah, this is called the Jones Act, and the Jones Act kind of gets a bad rep, but it is a 1920s law that says any ship going into a U.S. port has to be a U.S. flagship. And the reason why it gets a bad rep is because it can make shipping costs go up. So the Trump administration at the start of this war gave a 60-day waiver for the Jones Act, meaning that foreign ships, or foreign flagships really, can make their way into U.S. ports. And that's supposed to help ease some of the shipping costs, some of the high costs on gas and oil products. And it was uncertain if they would extend it, but we learned they now extended it to 90 days. So that's important because, of course, we are starting to see, as the Gulf has been shuttered, or as the Strait has been shuttered, we have been seeing ships that are carrying gas and oil make their way to the Gulf and to some of the refineries that are in the southeastern United States. So because of that, this would kind of give them a little bit more leeway. We also heard from Taylor Rogers, who's a White House spokeswoman, who said that they got a new tranche of data that essentially said when they gave that initial waiver, it revealed that a lot of the supply was able to get to U.S. ports faster, which is why they feel like this is necessary right now. But again, just talking about the timeline here, at the bottom line is this shows you that they do expect there to be more, at least short-term, economic shocks for Americans. We all know people are paying more at the pump right now. They're trying to do more to try to calm those concerns, but still they're having trouble getting gas prices back down as long as the Strait is closed, the blockade is in place. So this is just another effort to try to bring down those high costs.
Olivia Rinaldi with that update. Thank you so much.